This country been run by a brother goats, the greediest of all time. They have all a self and none of the mentality. The chorus is me. Bunch of pigs and goats running this desk day. And the latest deception and betrayal is really cause for alarm. They're the greediest of all time. It is plain to see the true gang and give a damn about you and me. Even big supporters crying fall and shame at how these comrades dirtying the Labour Party name. Don't business about that as long as they pocket fat. Too bad you don't agree. The good them say it's all about me. That's the chorus. Who is the nanny gate liar? Who don't spin doctor? Men. Whose sole agenda is to make themselves richer and the poor are them. They say I know that I greedy, but I beg you don't watch me stop being hateful. Instead just be grateful. All the good them say it's all about me. That's the slogan. The big salary increase is just the latest injustice to be imposed on the people by these blundering misfits. They're selfish and greedy with no love for the needy. Abolitious and runways make the thing ain't got no taste. Disrespectful and pompous, arrogant and self-righteous. These goats too brave and bold, ain't got no heart, no soul. They fed on their own nest with not a care for the rest. They say it's all about me. That's the goat them mantra. Who are the whole hog treating poor people like dog men? Who keep flying and start living our sons here to die? Who take the pepper the pop and kill off the peace? Enough talking about lift and elevate, just words and promises but no relief. Who lacking empathy, compassion, humility, Who think that shame, lame, rename is a sustainable strategy? Here they got them men. But woe be unto these gums and vampires. Fake lies, as these 5 verse 10 says. Whoever loves money never has enough. Whoever loves wealth is never satisfied with their income. Firstly, not grievous evil under the sun. Well, according to the harm of its owners, lost to misfortune, so that their children have nothing to inherit. So let them carry on. God don't like ugly. Who play, who fooling, who since June 2022, men. Who do the big bet and switch divide the poor and the rich, men. Who raking in bigly while so many going hungry, Who are disgrace of the high blood sucking parasite, a bunch of termites. They go them, We love to serve our country that God has blessed so well. In peace and love and happiness, we will forever dwell. We ask for God's protection and guidance on our way. The People's Action Movement will strive from day to day. The People's Action Movement is here and here to stay. We love to serve our country that God has blessed so well.
Welcome to another edition of Perspectives. This is episode number 4, brought to you by the People's Action Movement. All across the diaspora, Accusations and divisions were shocked, dismayed even, about some of the statements that were made at the recently held press conference organized by the security forces in St. Kitts and Nevis. Specifically, I think most of their outrage came from some of the rhetoric that was said by the National Security Advisor. Tonight, on this episode, we shall dissect some of those key statements that were made. We shall look into the implication, the interpretation, and all of the other fallout that came therefrom. Stay with us as we delve into the press conference of last week, Friday, and share with you our perspective. To begin with, let me read for the record the statement that the People's Action Movement issued on April 22nd, that was Monday, following Friday's press conference. Some people have asked, well, why did you issue that statement on Monday when the press conference was Friday? But our intention was to allow for the full ventilation of the outrage, the thoughts, the sometimes shame even. And so once that was out of the way, we thought that we would come on Monday with our statement. This statement was sent to all of the media houses in St. Kitts and Nevis. We are not quite certain which of the radio stations read it, in part or in full, but it was certainly also posted on our Facebook page. And so tonight, if you may have missed it, we will now read it into the record, and then my other two presenters, Mrs. Carlene Henry-Morton, the Secretary-Treasurer of the Assistant Secretary-Treasurer, did I get it correct? Assistant Secretary-Treasurer of the National Women's Group of PAM, and our chairman, Mr. Azard Gumbs, would also join in this conversation. Again, welcome everyone. So we would start off with the statement that was issued by the People's Action Movement on April 22nd. And it read, statement by the People's Action Movement on the ill-advised comments of the National Security Advisor of St. Kitts and Nevis. The People's Action Movement, PAM, is shocked and alarmed by the recent statements and unfortunate utterances of the National Security Advisor, Dr. Lionel Rawlings, at a press conference held last Friday, 19th April 2024. The National Security Advisor made a number of dangerously misguided statements that have the potential to place the entire population at risk. The implications of such statements are profound and deeply troubling and undermine the rule of law in our country. His words not only demonstrate a lack of empathy for the victims and their families, but reveal a profound ignorance of the complexities of crime and security. We reiterate our support for the police and armed forces in their crime-fighting efforts, notwithstanding the insinuation by the National Security Advisor that ordinary citizens are safe from gun violence. This is not only false, but dangerous, since the country is aware of innocent bystanders who have been affected by stray bullets. We hope that the statements in contention will not diminish the urgency of addressing the root causes of crime and the resolve in bringing the perpetrators to justice. It is the party's view that Dr. Rawlings' recent comments represent a dangerous departure from responsible leadership and an alarming disregard for the safety and security of the population. For this reason, we call upon Prime Minister Drew to distance himself from those remarks and immediately withdraw his appointment, considering the consequences of his dangerous rhetoric. We appeal to the perpetrators to work towards peaceful resolutions of their differences, to put down their arms and end the trauma and fear plaguing our beautiful land. End of statements. So we would go further into this live, and as we go along, we would play clips and we would comment on those clips and sometimes the dangerousness of some of the words that were used, as was represented by the National Security Advisor. So, as I said earlier, to help me in this discussion, we have invited our Assistant Secretary Treasurer of the National Women's Group of the People's Action Movement, Mrs. Carlene Henry-Morton, who is on my immediate, or my far right rather, and Azard Gumbs, our chairman, our young and able chairman, who would also, in his capacity also as a legal mind, weigh in on some of the legal conversations and the legal implications of some of these statements. So welcome, my fellow brother and sister of PAM.
It's a delight being here. It's a delight being here.
So, ladies first. Mr. Chairman, you don't mind, right? I'll just allow, a few opening lines from you so that as the viewers get accustomed to what you're going to say, they can take, they can follow, your line of discussion as you go along. So let's start with Mrs. Henry-Morton. Let me call you Carlene.
Call me Carlene.
We're brothers and sisters in this school.
It's not dispense with the formalities.
Sure.
I agree with you, Laverne. In your opening statements, you spoke about how the dangerous rhetoric. And unlike many persons, I was disappointed, but I was not shocked because I saw it coming. I don't know if you recall, sometime earlier, some statement was made by the NSA. Let me refer to him as the NSA, so we could move very quickly, about us in 2024. We would begin to be happy. We would begin to feel a sense of calm because we may only have 12 deaths in 2024, and then we may only have 6 deaths in 2025. Most of us may have understood what he was trying to say, but that was not the way to say it. Because who would be the 12 deaths? Who are you going to volunteer to be the 12 and the 6? You understand what I mean? Mm-hmm. So while he might be saying that we would have a decrease, you have to be very careful when you speak in your capacity, your professional capacity. You have to be very careful about how you communicate to the general public. So that was one. The other thing was that the chest beating that we had on Friday, the avoiding accountability, the empty rhetoric, as you said, those things have become common where this government is concerned. And I think what shocked the nation is that we had all of that ineptitude and that incompetence on steroids on Friday, right? It was a very solid dose of the type of ignorance that a lot of us are becoming very frustrated with hearing, especially at press conferences where we come to get calm, we come to get reassurance, we come to hear about positive things that are happening, and if there have been missteps, for people to take accountability and to say, we will try to do better, instead of trying to cover up. So I'll hand over to Azard now for his opening statements, with your permission, of course.
Sure.
I would want to agree with you. In fact, the statements made by the National Security Advisor was ill-advised, and his utterance really is a cause of concern. But I want to commend the Commissioner of Police and the security forces. The Commissioner cautioned parents, said that the school should identify early problem children. And he indicated that crime fighting should not just be the responsibility of the national security, but also us as a society as a whole. He spoke about the illegal guns that have been circulating. And he did indicate some of the initiatives by the police force, such as targeting patrols, and he spoke about town halls every other quarter, or every quarter, sorry. And so I want to commend the police force for that. And as we go on, we could talk about the things that didn't go so well about the National Security Advisor's statements and the press conference on a whole.
So let's delve right in. The very first comment that he made was troubling in the first instance, because there were 2 words that were used: responsibility and portfolio. And those of us who understand the meaning of those words in politics, we were left a little confused. Let's give it a listen.
Let me remind you that as the National Security Advisor, crime and violence is just one of the many areas of my portfolio. Falling under my portfolio is basically anything that affects the safety and security of the Federation falls under my responsibility.
So we heard the word portfolio mentioned twice. And we didn't play the full extent of that clip because he actually enumerated all of the things that falls under his portfolio under the wide umbrella of security. Which begs the question, portfolio, was portfolio the correct word to use? Isn't that the word assigned to a minister who has ministerial responsibility? You're the English major, Carlene.
I think, well, I can't speak for the NSA, but I think he may have misspoken. He may have misspoken. Maybe the word remit might have been a better word, a better choice of word.
Yes.
But he reinforced the idea that he's in charge by saying things like, I'm at the top and I'm going to take full responsibility, those types of things. So I was a bit confused about exactly what are his responsibilities and who would have told him that he has portfolios, who would have told him, or has he told himself that he has the responsibilities that are pretty similar to the Prime Minister. As far as I am aware, advisors advise, and the persons whom they advise are at liberty to either accept in part or in whole, or to reject in part or in whole, whatever advice is given. So I am a bit confused as to whether or not the NSA himself is confused about exactly what is his remit. And if he is confused, somebody needs to disabuse him of whatever ideas he may have had, or any ideas that he has, as to exactly what are his responsibilities. Because left unchecked, we see what can happen.
And therein lies the real danger. Therein
Yes.
lies the real danger, because you clearly have to draw a line where my responsibility ends here and somebody else's pick up here.
Right.
But as he spoke, like I said, enumerating all of those, I had no idea that those things would fall under the remit of a national security advisor. Food security. Do you want to weigh in?
He talked about, and I could list what he spoke about. He talked about health security, energy security, food security, water security, cyber security, immigration security, human security. He said anything that relates to security is under his control, basically.
Who knew?
But again, to emphasize what you have said, his role is one of an advisory role. He's not to advocate his own agenda, but offer recommendations. And as you have indicated well, it is sad that the advisor cannot even give advice correctly because he doesn't know what his role is.
Well, that is why later down you're going to see that he's so confused that he began giving advice even to the criminals.
Yes.
We had a serious problem there. After a while, you were not sure exactly which team he was playing for. In fact, I compared it to a football match and I said, he scored about 5 times on his own goalkeeper. Some of the statements that were made.
Good analogy.
The opposition, the opposing team won the game and they didn't even have to score a goal themselves.
True.
He dismantled a lot of things that the Commissioner of Police and Lieutenant Colonel Comrie would have in their opening statements. The overtures that they would have made, the appeals for peace and calm, the whole idea of us working together. It's not a them versus us and so on and so forth. But when he began to speak, all of that went on.
Yes.
He threw a bomb in all of that.
Yes. I think people who are observing, people who are able, I was listening, but I was driving. But I think people who are actually watching and understand body language saw people cringe. I mean, it was very visible that people were cringing. And in fact, the whole nation cringed. I think whether they cringed when it was live or subsequently when they had the opportunity to review it. But we'll dissect some more. Another troubling point that he made hinted on the fact that, or on the suggestion rather, and incorrectly so, that we rejoice, and actually there was some expression about political expedience, and that it is politically expedient for people to rejoice during the murders, when there's a murder. But really, when you live on a small island where your neighbor, your neighbor's children, you have godchildren, you go to church, you're in a Rotary Club, you're in some kind of organization. I mean, we basically know everybody living on an island. Who really would rejoice over the death of anybody? And why? So let's hear in its entirety that particular remark.
There are people who I believe maybe they go to bed at nights hoping and wishing that somebody will get killed so they can openly rejoice about it. We should be in pain when somebody gets killed. When one of our young men is murdered, we shouldn't be exploiting it for political expediency.
So yes, and again, as you said, the tone was all wrong, and the innuendos and the insinuations. And as he was speaking, I'm recalling that our political leader, Honorable Sean Richards, didn't he lose a nephew?
I think some time ago.
Some time ago, to gun violence. So really, which one of us in this room, in this country, anywhere, who call themselves a true patriot of this country, has a reason to rejoice?
I think the NSA, the National Security Advisor, again, is making some sort of confusion, in the sense that he is confusing himself. In fact, what is honest and open criticism, he has mistaken it with malice. If persons aren't secured or feel secured that the government is doing what it ought to do to arrest the situation, persons are going to speak out.
Of course.
They're not rejoicing, they are showing concern.
Right? When I listened to that statement, I said, what cynicism. Classic narcissistic behavior. Because I am pointing out to you an area where you're falling short, you become the victim, and you basically accuse me of being unpatriotic, that I am rejoicing in the fact that a fellow citizen has been killed. I mean, that is the work of a depraved mind. How could you come up with something like that? But I guess the whole idea is to shut people down. You are afraid that you're going to be vilified, that those kinds of accusations are going to be leveled against you, so you stop talking about it. But I want to tell Kittitians and Nevisians and all of us that we have to continue to talk about those things. We have to raise our concerns. Don't let anybody intimidate you into, going in a corner and shutting up. Our voices must be heard, and the government must listen to us and understand that people are worried, people are concerned, people are living in fear. Yes, I may not be part of the gang culture, but I live in a community, as you say. These are my neighbors. It might be a friend's child. And they come from families where, even though the family may not be part of the gun culture and the drug culture and the, whatever is going on, they belong to a family. They are our brothers and sisters. They may not be moral citizens, but our job is to try to help them to redeem themselves, make them feel as if they're valued, persons in our society and so on. So again, you're going to hear me say this several times. The NSA misspoke.
I think the NSA is out of touch with reality.
No surprise there. No surprise there. And the funny thing is that the next clip we're going to listen to, there was this broad statement about people need to help, all hands need to be on deck kind of thing. And yet, a few episodes ago, we read a letter that was sent to the Prime Minister's office and was partially addressed in some very strange language. And till this day, today is April 25th.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
We have not heard anything further about whether or not we would ever have the opportunity to sit with the powers that be. So let's play the other clip and hear exactly what he said about, the people not wanting to put up their hand to assist.
Taken out of context and used for some kind of political expediency. But when a young man or a young woman is murdered, we should feel that pain. We shouldn't be rejoicing. Number 10, number 11, number 12. Why don't you meet with us and say, hey, I have some ideas of what we can do to curb the crime?
So yes, we did have some ideas. We did write to the Prime Minister, who obviously passed information on to one of his permanent secretaries. And we want to show tonight, in particular, one of the paragraphs that she sent back to us in response. Because
But first the letter.
the letter. So in full view, we show the letter that was written to the Prime Minister.
And I think the date is important. The 18th of January.
18th of January. We have highlighted that section to say that we said, we are a responsible political party. We take our role as a party seriously. And that is why we're putting up our hands to say we can help. We may be able to share solutions. So that is the highlighted portion there. So clearly, we don't know what became of that letter. We don't know if that letter was ever passed on. It would be sad if it was not. So you can both weigh in.
We got the response from the permanent secretary in the Prime Minister's office, Ms. Hazel. She indicated, and of course she wrote back to me. I hand-delivered the letter. I expect a response. At first she indicated that it must be me alone. I said, well, I represent an executive. It cannot be me alone. The executive would like to be in the meeting as well, to give their views and their suggestions. And that was what she responded, saying, when I asked, okay then, if you can't have the entire executive, could I come with another executive member? And this is what the letter read.
Can you read that into the record?
Well, I will read the
highlighted portion.
The highlighted portion.
Yes, please.
And it says, while I am unaware of any precedent where such a meeting between a political party and government entity of this nature has ever occurred, it is out of respect for our personal relationship of over 20 years that I initially agreed to meet with you as a representative of your party, the People's Action Movement. The follow-up requests for your full executive to attend the meeting in light was not agreed. Therefore, we should assume that the new request is the counter compromise your executive wishes to extend.
I want us to look at some of those words for a little while. The very insinuation that it is only because you and her are friends why she responded to you. And the other portion which said that there's been no precedent. Well, if there were no precedent, you were not glad to make this a precedent?
Exactly.
Because on the one hand, you have the National Security Advisor here saying that nobody's reaching out, nobody's helping, but everybody's criticizing. But on the 19th of January 2024, before all of this started, we went on record right into the Prime Minister as Minister of National Security.
But you know what this suggests to me? It suggests that the advisor may not have been genuine when he asked for assistance, or unaware that such a letter was written and addressed to the Prime Minister, and such a response was given by his permanent secretary. And it would mean that the members of the national security do not speak to each other.
Right.
How can the National Security Advisor not know that the People's Action Movement penned a letter to the Prime Minister on the same Elevate program?
Right. I agree with Azard there, that it exposes that lack of cohesion and collaboration and partnership and talking amongst the groups that are responsible for peace and security. Because as I said, Lieutenant Colonel Comrie, I think, and Commissioner of Police James Sutton, they were at pains to make sure they invited people to come on board. So it's either they're just paying lip service, or there is this genuine desire to have multiple stakeholders involved in discussing issues of crime, the complexities of crime, and arriving at practical solutions as to how we can curb, the murder rate, how we can reach out to persons who are vulnerable in vulnerable communities, and so on and so forth. So again, there's some confusion there. There's a gray area as to exactly what is going on in this government. Are the requisite persons dialoguing with each other? Are they engaging each other? Are they genuine in their appeals when they say they want all hands on deck? Because if you send a letter volunteering, we are willing to come, we want to hear what the program is all about, the People's Action Movement, we have ideas, we have suggestions, we have recommendations, and you get back a letter like that. The content, the tone left a lot to be desired, right? First of all, from my experience as a former permanent secretary, when you get letters like that, you do not respond in your personal capacity. The only I that is supposed to be in that letter is that I have received a directive from the Prime Minister or whichever minister to respond to you on a letter that was sent, correspondence that was sent to him or to her. That's the only I. After that, you're responding using information that the Prime Minister or the other minister would have told you that he would want you to think. The Prime Minister or the other minister must see the letter before it leaves his or her ministry, and you sign on behalf of. It has nothing to do with how many years of friendship you and anybody had, and the I and the me and thing. But as I said, I am not surprised, because people seem to be genuinely confused about their roles in this administration, and that is something that needs to be addressed. We are not, in our professional capacity, we are not responding on our own behalf. People are not asking you about your home. They're asking you about the people's business, the government's business. And that is where your focus ought to be.
Yeah. It almost reminds us of even some of the vague responses at press conferences. It's like, the unspoken responses sometimes say, you'll hear when we tell you, but please don't ask us. Or you'll hear in our own time. Don't demand anything of us because we're not accountable to you. And it seems almost that the government think that they're only accountable to people when it's maybe a day before the election, when they go canvassing and they want to make sure that they get the votes. And surely in 2024, that cannot be an acceptable standard. It cannot be. Evading questions, or maybe sometimes even insulting people who ask questions, even the media. This can't be the standard.
No, we have to come better than that.
Absolutely.
And as a people, we must demand that we come better than that.
And I'm glad that we have this program, because all who have been saying that, PAM has been quiet, the People's Action Movement has been quiet, you're not saying anything, you're all passive. Well, we're saying no. We're going on record. The record is there, and it would be there until God comes, because it's you could put it in the cloud, you could put it in the stratosphere, you could put it anywhere. It's accessible after tonight, it's accessible tomorrow, next week, next year, 25 years, 100 years from now.
I like to say what you say, Laverne, let the records reflect.
Right.
We're putting it on record, right?
Yes.
And so it's there for posterity.
Exactly. And so all who may be afraid, because the thing is, the truth be told, people are reaching out to us from all across this world. People are calling us, people are telling us things, people are sharing information with us, because people want a voice. And let's not forget that not everybody is as brave as us, because people, last week it was mentioned, people are so afraid of the V word.
Victimization.
Yes.
Yep.
People are afraid.
Laverne is afraid to say the word, the V word.
The V word. So obviously, at a time when people are looking for a voice, we want to declare that, PAM, we are the voice. We are your voice. You have an issue, you have a grievance, call us and tell us. We would use this platform to advocate for you. At the end of the day, even if you fear losing your job, really, can they send home 3,000 people at once? Can they send home 50 people at once? Well, the country will shut down. So let us not be afraid of repercussions. Do it with the fear of God in you, knowing that if you are fighting for your right and you want somebody to talk for you, you have a friend, you have an advocate in the People's Action Movement. So as we go along with this discussion, dissecting, as we said earlier, these statements that the National Security Advisor made, there was also something that caused a lot of alarm. As a matter of fact, I didn't know that Accusations was so good on this meme game. I mean, the number of memes I saw circulating from Friday, maybe into Monday, I say, our people are really, really good. I don't know how to make a meme, so you really couldn't say I made any. But I was really surprised. No, and this was one of the things that, this is one of the statements or the phrases that a lot of people spoke about. We'll hear it now.
Yes, of course. We have discerned that 95% of these homicides are retaliatory. And when that happens, for example, we know that there was a murder in John Street, and the next night, the next day, in less than 24 hours, there was another. We could mathematically predict that by using mathematical sequencing.
So mathematical sequence. I was not good at math, I mean, I struggled in maths all my life. I don't even know what a mathematical sequence is. But what I do know is that if the National Security Advisor is going to stand at a podium, well, he was sitting actually at a head table, and said that he knew. Was he derelict of duty in not making sure that if he knew that there was going to be retaliation, there's no foot patrol, there's no visible, so there's nothing. So effectively, in my estimation, he's saying, well, we ought to have been able to avoid homicide number 11.
And it's very unfortunate that he said so with a comforting tone and a level of arrogance too. That, well, we knew that this was going to happen, but if you knew it was going to happen,
do something.
Why didn't you try to prevent it?
Right. Yeah.
It is not showing well for this administration.
Not at all.
It has shown that they do not care. They do not care for the people who have elected them to serve.
Let me tell you what my takeaway was on that. My takeaway on that, not being proactive, not being preemptive, and according to you, mathematically, you could have worked out, maybe not John was going to die, but somebody was going to die. I expected to hear, and so we increased foot patrols. There were a number of police officers in civilian clothing. So I expected to hear something. But I said, well, if that is not what I'm hearing, then can I conclude that the strategy is leave them to kill each other? Let the gunmen them do the police work for them. That is one of the conclusions that we could arrive at.
Yes.
That and as Azard said, he said it with such aplomb, calm and cool, almost as if these young men are disposable, they're expendable, they're not contributing anything to society anyway, scoffing at lives. I don't care. Until you're proven guilty, you're innocent.
Yeah.
You go on, he went on to make a statement to the effect that those who are being murdered, they murdered people. But where's the evidence of that? Why, if they murdered people, are they walking around scot-free so that somebody can take revenge? He said he knows that these things are retaliatory. And I wondered if the NSA or other persons, because, it makes you very concerned, because this is the individual who is advising the Prime Minister. If that is the attitude of the person advising the Prime Minister, it questions how sound his judgment is and what kind of advice he's giving to the Prime Minister. You begin to say, well, no wonder we are in the state that we are in, because look at the callous disregard, the kinds of irresponsible statements that are being made.
I think there should have been nationwide outrage. I think people should have spilled over into the street the next day to demand that somebody takes accountability for what he's saying, or maybe just relieve him of the duties.
He should be relieved of his duties.
Because it's
confidence in that person has been undermined.
But what is strange is that he says so calmly. He's saying, don't worry about it. is persons are dying, and these persons who have killed each persons before. So you ain't have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about any stray bullets. But we know in the past that persons have been injured as a result of stray bullets.
The records are there.
But the records are there, as you say, it's on the record.
But Azard, bullets don't have eyes.
At all.
And when they come out of the muzzle of the gun, they don't have on a name. When a bullet, we know about collateral damage taking place in St. Kitts around the world. A bullet comes out, a child perhaps went down the road to just run a little errand for the mother, and the child does not make it back home. So we cannot oversimplify these things and think that, well, it's just, but, well, the gentleman actually said, it's they killing each other.
Yeah.
He went on to say that we don't have
safe.
anything to worry about.
Yeah.
Well, I'm wondering who are the they
And who are the
and
we?
who are the we?
And when we will come then,
Right?
we?
Because crime is a complex matter.
In fact, by saying that, he is suggesting that we take on some sort of street justice, jungle justice. So let them kill themselves. We don't have to worry about it. But yet, in a statement before, he said that we should be in pain. But isn't he in pain by uttering these words?
He contradicted himself
Yes.
also. But not only that, but I'm wondering what are the people who are spearheading the Elevate program saying? I mean, I would have liked to have been a fly on the wall to hear the post-mortem meeting.
Well, I had a meeting with a number of persons who were a part of the peace program before. In fact, it was organized by Nubian and on Saturday past.
Okay.
And a number of them said that the key players within the peace program are no longer there. What it was not only about giving assistance through employment, but actually there were persons there who would, if you have a problem between A and B, act as a mediator to try to quell the problem, to try to bring out some resolution amicably. Those persons are no longer there. And so what you see is a revamping of a program without looking at the strengths
And what worked
weaknesses.
and what worked.
Yes.
Yeah?
I think that it would have, because I am not saying that if you come in and you meet a program and you see that there are some elements that need to be reviewed or revised or whatever, that you have to take the program wholesale. But one would think, logically thinking, that you hold on to those elements that are working and you gradually ease out of one program and then into the other. That would be the common sense thing to do. You can't throw the baby with the bathwater, because what is happening now is that we have to start all over again.
But you see, it's all in the rhetoric. Get rid of them. Get rid of all of those who were helping before, so
And
we
all the
can come
programs.
in.
But that can't make sense,
No, it cannot.
right? This blame, shame, and rename strategy is not sustainable. Unsustainable.
Could never be sustainable.
And sustainable is now the new buzzword in St. Kitts as well. So I like the way you use that word.
Right?
Just now.
But as I said, a lot of it is lip service. This government is very good at paying lip service. Pay attention.
No genuine concern.
Yeah,
Right?
it's really cause for concern. It is really cause for concern. And then I think the next clip is the one that really took the cake, because, you know, as an advisor, you are a legal mind.
Yes.
And you know, you would advise your clients
Of course.
based on the law. Based on the law. I mean, you won't advise your clients to do anything to breach the law.
And you would assume that the NSA would do the very same.
But we listen to the clip now.
If you know that you're involved in the murder of someone, I would encourage you to borrow some money, buy an airline ticket, and leave the island. Because it's going to cause us problems. That's as bluntly as I could say.
I do not think that the NSA, the National Security Advisor, truly understands the gravity of his ill-advised utterance. In fact, when he was making the statement, look at the face of the commissioner. Look where his hands were. What the NSA is suggesting can be viewed as criminal. He is suggesting that persons who have committed heinous acts should just leave the country. In law, we refer to that as absconding. In other words, he's encouraging persons to evade the legal process of a court by leaving the jurisdiction. Such an ill-advised message by one placed in authority to give advice to the Prime Minister. And national security is alarming and a cause for concern. What is he saying to families who seek justice, and rely on the court? What is he saying? His utterance can be seen as an attack on due process and the administration of justice. His statements are ill-advised, irresponsible, that they are such a great cause of concern.
Look at the other portion too, where he said, get money from a family member, or words to that effect.
Borrow money.
Borrow money, right? And I spoke to some legal minds as well, and they said that you can be charged,
with
the individual, with aiding and abetting,
yes,
and you know, so
to
I mean,
evade justice.
of course, and accessory after the fact or before the fact or whatever. You
That was such
legal
a
minds
deep-
would know
but
the exact words.
But
So
you know,
imagine someone
I
getting money.
I can understand how anybody on Friday night could have slept easily. Anybody in authority, that is,
Yes.
who understood the
grasp.
dangerous,
Yeah.
implications of some of these statements. It is, you know what I wonder? If John Paul from St. Paul's, no pun intended, had gotten our calling to wear this island tea and said those things, if police would not have immediately found him and arrested him. Those were dangerous statements.
And I don't think that he truly understands.
As
The
National
National
Security
Advisor doesn't
Advisor,
understand? Well, we have a serious problem.
a serious problem.
Well,
We have a
are
serious problem on our hands.
experiencing the serious problem now.
Right.
Within the
My
month
goodness.
of April, we had 5 homicides in 11 days.
Wow.
We had a conference, a press conference by National Security. No word from the Prime Minister at that time. What we saw was a TikTok video of the Prime Minister off island saying that, yes, I'm the Prime Minister, and smiling away. How could he smile in such a situation
Tense.
that we have in
Yeah.
St. Kitts, and
Yeah.
such a tense situation?
The Jamaican song, you see anything there to smile about?
I know.
That is
Right.
what came to
Well,
mind.
Well, he needed,
right?
somebody needed to play it for him.
I looked, as I had said, or maybe it was you, Laverne. The 2 officers who were at the table were obviously very uncomfortable. One actually put his hand over his face, the other one looked down. Because they themselves, who are acquainted and au fait with the law, they knew almost by instinct that this man is headed into some very dangerous territory. Right? And that is one of the areas where I am disappointed with the officers because they had the weight of the law on their side. And without discrediting the NSA and without confronting him there, they needed to change the narrative and pivot and do exactly what Azard just did. Remind people about absconding, remind people about the whole idea of lending money for those types of things, becoming an accessory, and also remind the general public that when people leave the island, criminals leave the island, the government has to pay some entity that does those investigations to first of all find the person, and the person, from what I have been made to understand, the government has to pay to extradite them back here. So that's a cost. And from what I've been made to understand, it is not cheap. It costs a pretty penny, right? So they needed to pivot very quickly. And the other concern for me is that even if the following day you correct what was said, there is no guarantee the following day that the same audience you had yesterday, that the same people are going to be listening tomorrow.
But people were tuned out.
You understand what I mean?
People tuned out
So,
after that.
a number of persons have gone away with the idea that it might very well be okay if I kill somebody because the NSA said so, borrow some money and
the
go off
NSA
island.
told me. I mean, what,
Yeah.
what better person to advise you? The
Right.
National Security Advisor tell you to catch a plane and go away?
I tell you, the man playing for the 2 teams. He wasn't sure which team he was on.
This is too
He
serious.
advising the Prime Minister, but he's still advising the criminals.
Yes.
That is alarming. It is dangerous. It could make you physically sick.
But
just thinking
imagine-
about that type of scenario.
Imagine that this is the individual. We have a crime situation here in St. Kitts. We see the number of homicides. As I said before, 5 in the month of April. And this is the individual who is chief advisor chief advisor
And that's the best advice he can give.
to the Prime Minister.
But you know something? When he started saying that, I was, well, in my mind, I was helping him to complete the sentence. I was saying that he was going to say, you could go to Mars, we'll come there and get you.
Of course.
I was rooting for the man, because to me, after all of these blunders, I was hoping he will make a comeback. So in my mind, I'm saying, this is what I wanted to hear. Yes, you know, we'll come to Mars to get you and bring you back.
Right. Leave no stone unturned.
Leave no stone unturned.
Yes.
But alas, I tuned out then because I said, no, this was the end of it. I said, I can't take any more of this press conference. There was no assurance. There's nothing. Everybody in St. Kitts was left in disappointment, maybe anger, a whole burst of emotion after that.
It was a national embarrassment.
It was.
We were left not with an egg on our faces, a tray of eggs on our collective faces by those utterances. It was a sad day.
Very sad.
Sad day.
Very sad. And you know, the thing with social media these days, and I suppose, you know, the fact that these things could reach the world.
Yes.
As a critician, I also felt a little embarrassed because, you know, it's not to say we could erase it and throw away the tape in the sea. People are going to have this forever and ever.
Well, I hope he understands the ramification of his words. And if he's given an opportunity to speak again, that
I don't think so, because even I mean, we chose tonight not to analyze the so-called apology, because that's not even good enough to go on record.
No.
I hope that he knows in the future what to say.
Or
and
you're
what
hoping
to
he should
don't.
still be in the NSA after the end of this month?
Well, if I were the government, he would never see a mic again. I mean, that is if he kept his job. He would
well,
never
exactly.
see a mic again.
Because
I don't know what he's going to come out of his
If that is the quality
mouth.
of advice he's going to give him, whether on mic or off mic, we should all hope that
Right.
he's replaced. On camera, off camera. I mean, you're talking about the quality of advice.
Well, it goes to, again, the selection and the discretion of the Prime Minister. We've seen who he has as advisors.
Right.
We don't have to go through the list.
This particular situation, it seems to be pretty prevalent. You hear from people in the society, in the public, talking about the quality of persons in all of the ministries. The way they speak to people, they treat people with disdain. That is, I'm not saying everybody in the civil service is like that, but I'm saying there are enough for us to be concerned. So perhaps training from top come right down needs to take place, because I mean this cannot continue.
You know, I made a post the other day. I don't even know where it came from, but I was reacting to something that somebody posted on the same matter. And I said, the sad thing is that we seem to operate at 50% capacity whenever there's a government in power, because 50% of the people are isolated, and so sometimes your best minds. So Laverne Caines on this program tonight, and Laverne Caines has the ability to do something, and somebody will say, she? You know who she be? She's a PAM. And so that fallacy, that foolish way we've been operating will eliminate a lot of the people who could make a difference, only because they don't wear the color that you wear. And I believe it is something that, well, I would strongly advocate against it in PAM, so that when we form the next government, I mean, I'm not saying to bring a national security advisor who you can't trust. You know, I mean,
Right.
well, obviously we see it now, right? But surely, if it's a project, if it's a project or some short term thing that needs a certain expertise, I don't see why we can't look for the best brain, for the best person. And if in fact we were doing that, we probably would not have had the NSA, because you wonder sometimes if these jobs were put out to tender, or if people were handpicked.
Now, what kind of interview process took place?
Exactly.
Are you suggesting nepotism?
I am suggesting qualification, not just in the letters behind your name, but in competence, tenure, experience, and all the like.
So it should not be based on nepotism.
That shouldn't be the only criteria. As we move along, we are going to look at the final clip from the National Security Advisor. One where I think Carlene alluded to it early on, the us versus they. Now, who is us and who is they? And are the roles going to reverse one day? Are the us going to become them? Did they become us? So let's listen to it.
Because we're not killing each other. They are killing each other. They're murdering each other. Every person who has been killed has been involved in the killing of someone else. Retribution. You live by the sword, you shall die by the sword. And that is what is happening.
This is the same person. You know, when I heard this, I said, this is the same person who earlier, the irony, said, do not gloat over, do not pray in the night to get up and hear that there was another murder. So you could say number 10, number 11.
But if you listen more, he says, by the time they kill each other, you're going to pat us on the back.
Yeah. I mean,
for a good job.
So you were, I couldn't believe what I was hearing, right? I could not be. So his own words condemned him, that he's saying one thing because it might sound nice, but he forgot that that is what he said. And then, as I said, he has this attitude. As I tell you, when I heard some of the things I said, it seems to me as if that is the strategy, you know.
But the thing
the
about
strategy is let them kill off each other.
If he knows that these are individuals who have killed, why are these persons still on the street? Why have you not charged these persons and brought them before a court? In fact, maybe he done write down and tell them, or suggest to them, get a plane.
Get a ticket.
Well, he didn't have to tell them because he said it publicly here, and all who knew they were planning to kill or who have killed.
Probably organizing the funds to go.
Right. So much so that you say you had the memes with the Gunman Express and all the things and so on. I mean, it's funny, but it's a serious. This is a serious matter.
But it's funny that you say it was funny but not funny when the whole National Security Press Conference seemed to have taken a comedic approach. It was one of comedy. In fact, it ended on that note. When it's supposed to be about serious business.
And as we said earlier, you know, stray bullets, nobody knows where stray bullet would end up. And some of them innocent people get caught in the crossfire. And as you correctly said, Mr. Chairman, you know, just when we thought we had a full dose of disappointment, we were now in diarrhea mode. Some had diarrhea, some were constipated. And then came this.
If when you lie down at night, you want to sleep, snore, and dribble, the onus is on you to help out the police when there is trouble.
Was that a line to rhyme? Was that a rhyming scheme or something? Because I found that this was so uncalled for. You know, where was she when she heard all of the misspeakings of the NSA? So no, and she was going good. I think her closing was good until she reached that point.
Yeah, in fact, she took a very serious matter and tried to end it on a joke.
And so those are the parting words, eh?
Yeah.
I would hope that our parting words would be, listen, so we appeal to you again, you know, communities out there, those persons who may be running afoul of the law, you know, you try to get people, you know, your better judgment, let your better judgment prevail, you know, and that type of thing. But that is, we ended up, you know, as if, you know, it's a farce. It's a comedy skit.
You wonder if these persons are really genuine about the concern that they seem to suggest they have. Because from the start, from the NSA to the end with the public relations officer of the police, it's just been
downhill. On roller skates.
Yes.
Right?
Downhill.
And
sadly.
And I think that it reflects what has been happening with this government. Things have been going downhill.
And downhill, as I said,
fast on roller skates. They're just going downhill. They're going downhill almost as if they're being operated by some motor or something. They're picking up speed as they're going downhill. As I said, I refer to the government, I'm very sorry, as a Rumpelstiltskin government. I don't know how many of you know the fairy tale, you might be too young, but Rumpelstiltskin was the one who promised that he could spin straw into gold. The government came in and they promised gold. All of these wonderful things are going to happen. Even now you hear them. The hospital is going to be state of the art. All of these wonderful things. And they just keep kicking the can down the road.
Are you talking about the 2,400 homes that are supposed to be built?
That's one of the areas in which we're being duped as well. Kicking the can down the road. And I say Rumpelstiltskin because instead of the gold that was promised, we're getting nothing but straw.
Yes.
Emptiness. Yes. There's nothing to show. People can't feed themselves. They can't pay their bills. People are looking for jobs. I mean, things are in chaos and mayhem.
But maybe they do have goal, but the goal is for themselves.
Perhaps.
Wow.
Because if you look at the increase in salary...
that's a different talk show.
I know, but they increase their salary, so they have found goal.
Yes.
While others receive straw.
Well,
Yes.
The plebs.
Right.
And on that note, we'll just have to wrap up because I guess we're going to make people, take a little coffee or something, some drink that would make them sleep tonight because this was, I guess we brought another dose of reality from our own perspective for the people using this platform. And no wonder so many people have been supporting us. We ask you to send your support to us. We are having the opening of the Secretariat tomorrow at between 5 and 6, I think. 5:30. 5:30. We want to give people the opportunity. We want to pay their last respect to our beloved Alfonso Bridgewater to do so, and then come to the Secretariat after. So between 5:30 6, you can bring your donations then, or you can call us to come and collect it, because we are going to use this platform to pivot our party. We are going to use this platform to be your voice, to speak for you, to be your advocate. And to do so, we would need support. So we thank those people who have already committed to supporting this perspective. And we ask you, if you can't do it now and you can do it in the future, to just let us know so that we know for sure that we can continue using this platform to share information and to bat for you. We're not batting against you on this team. We're not going to score a goal against you on this team, like Carlene said earlier. We are batting for you. So thank you so much for joining us this evening. If you didn't catch it in its wholesomeness, you can catch it again because it's on YouTube and on Facebook. And we'll see you again next Thursday when we delve in on another perspective. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
This country been run by a brother goats, the greediest of all time. They have all a self and none of the mentality. The chorus is me. Bunch of pigs and goats running this day. And the latest deception and betrayal is really cause for alarm. They're the greediest of all time. It is plain to see the true gang and give a damn about you and me. Even big supporters crying foul and shame about how these comrades dirty in the Labour Party name. Don't business about that as long as they pocket fat. Too bad you don't agree. The good them say it's all about me. That's the chorus. Who is the nanny gate liar? Who don't spin doctor? Men. Whose sole agenda is to make themselves richer and the poor harder. They say I know that I greedy, but I beg you don't watch me stop being hateful. Instead just be grateful. All the good them say.